Hi, we are talking to amazing people in construction and education about recruitment, training, and retention. Welcome to the Builders Table. I'm your host, Jennifer Wilkerson. I'm excited today on the Builders Table. So I have Domenic Scorpio, local contractor. He is the CEO and president of Scorpio Construction. And so thanks for being here.
Glad to be here. Excited to have this chat with you today.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah. So I want to start at the beginning, because I know you have a fascinating family story of how your father was in construction and how you ended up so let's start with that. Let's start with your family's construction background.
It is a fun story. I'll try to keep it brief because I know we don't have a lot of time together today. But my dad was a master stonemason trained in Italy. We're first generation from Italy, and the economy was slow there, but he had a passion for what he did, and he learned by chance that he was an American citizen and decided that he was going to move his family from Italy to the United States. And so he came over and started his career as a mason here in the States, and quickly learned that in the United States, they really didn't hold stonemasons or masons in general to the same caliber, the same elevation as they did in Italy. It was a craft in Italy that was very well sought after, and they really had some high prestige in Italy, especially as a stonemason. But nonetheless, when he came to this country and realized he had a very large family of 7 children,
that's a large family.
It is a large family. 7 children that he had to feed, working as a mason really wasn't cutting it. So he decided to start his own business and became pretty entrepreneurial from that perspective. And of course, his 7 children, 6 of us were boys, and we became his
stonemasons.
We became his day laborers. Okay, I mean, he would bring us all to work from a very early age, and I was fascinated with the work. I mean, he was an artist in the craft, and so I was always very impressed with the work he did in the end product. Fell in love with it. But the reality of it was for me that my dad at that early age when we were working together said, son, as you age, this is going to become very difficult physical work. And so maybe you don't want to go into the trades for your whole life. Maybe you want to go into higher education in the craft. And he really promoted the idea of me becoming an architect or some kind of a builder very early in my life. I remember I was probably 10 or 11 years old when he planted that seed. So yeah, that's what got me interested in the industry was that backstory of my dad in a stonemasonry. Yeah.
I love it. So did you like to draw back then? I mean, did the design interest you, or was that just something he thought this might be a good opportunity?
Yeah, that's why he really pushed me into architecture because he saw that I was a good artist at a young age. Okay. And so even though I like the craft of construction, he really thought, well, son, why don't you think about maybe designing this stuff and you design it and then other people can build it. So he really promoted you want to be an architect, go there because then you're also not in the sun every day. You know? So he was looking out for my physical well-being as well as just my future in the industry, right? So he promoted me to go into architecture, planted that seed. I liked the idea, and then even in high school, I started taking some drafting classes. I'm starting to date myself because now you would say taking some CAD classes.
Right, exactly. But I remember drafting. I'm right there with you. I remember drafting.
Yeah, so it was drafting classes, and I really just fell in love with the idea of just even drawing everything from letters. You know, they teach you how to draw letters first in drafting class, and it was fascinating to me. And so I went into architecture at the school in the College of Architecture at the University of Florida. Okay, that's what brought me to the University of Florida and what brought me here to Alachua County and Gainesville locally. Yeah.
So where were you before you came to Alachua County?
Yeah, the short story is we started in Italy, just like every good Italian family. We landed in New England.
Oh, okay.
Well, we definitely came through New York, but we landed in New England. We had family in Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island. So. That's where we landed, but my family, my mom and dad, were both from southern Italy, so they were accustomed to a much warmer climate.
Okay.
And so,
New England might not be the best place.
It wasn't. It didn't take my dad long to realize, well, I can only work about 9 months out of the year. And again, it was always driven by opportunity. And so he said, where can I go to be able to work year round? And so then we landed in Volusia County in Florida. Okay. And I was in middle school at that time. And so I already had aspirations to go into an architecture program somewhere. So I did my research, especially in the state of Florida. And University of Florida just happened to have one of the better programs in the state. So I went through high school and then quickly came to Gainesville after that and called it home.
Fantastic. And still here.
Still here.
Still here. So
here.
let's talk about, so you went into college architecture.
Yes.
But did you stay in architecture the whole time you were in college, or did you change that?
Well, I received an undergraduate degree. And then this is an interesting story in itself. So I had to work to put myself through school. And I took a co-op job at the office of the School of Building Construction, the Rinker School of Building Construction, because that office was right next door to the architecture design studios. So architecture really is a time-consuming course of study. And so you spend a lot of time in studio. And so I thought, okay, well, in between classes and in between studio, I can go into the Rinker School office and work part-time and earn some money to pay my way through college. And Dr. Chang was the director of the School of Building Construction. Every time I'd go to work, he and I got to know each other. It was a very small office. And he'd say, your personality just doesn't say architect. He said, your personality says general contractor. And I really think you need to switch out of architecture and come to the School of Building Construction.
Oh, wow. So he's recruiting.
He's recruiting.
He's recruiting hard.
He is. And so I just really was passionate about architecture. So that really wasn't of interest to me, okay? But when I graduated with architecture, the economy wasn't very strong. People forget that in the early 90s, the economy also had a dip. That's like the recession that everyone forgets, right?
Right. We don't talk about that one.
I didn't forget because I couldn't find a job in architecture. They called them, you had to intern, and they called them free turns. If you want to come to work, we'll hire you as a free turn. But I put myself through school, so I had student debts. And Dr. Chang said, well, you know what all good students do when the economy is low, they go to graduate school, right? And so I said, okay, Dr. Chang, I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to guess you want me to go to School of Building Construction. And of course, he said, absolutely. He said, I think it would pair well with your architecture degree, and then after you get your degree in construction, you could decide what part of the industry you want to be involved in.
Gives you a lot of options.
It did. It gave me quite a few options, actually, and the biggest opportunity, I would say, that it gave me, I said, Dr. Chang, I will come to School of Building Construction. I am interested, but I really have to work. I can't take on any more debt going to graduate school. I said, so if you could find me a good local general contractor where I can internship with, I would really appreciate that, and it'll help curb some of the costs of graduate school. And so he did. He introduced me to a local builder, a very prominent local builder, and I started interning with him as I went to grad school. And that's what really kept me in Gainesville. I received a degree in building construction, a master's degree in building construction. Dr. Chang was right. It spoke to who I was. It spoke to my personality, my passion for the industry. So I did. I pivoted and decided that I was going to get into commercial construction, and went to work full-time for the company that I was interning with.
Do you think that was a mixture of your early loving the actual trade and the skill of it? Like you loved architecture, but then construction management, you'd get to still be seeing that and the things being built. Do you think maybe that played a role?
I think it played a really big role. But I think that what really drove me more to construction, especially commercial construction, where you have a lot of moving parts and a lot of trade contractors involved, and a lot of coordination that happened, is I really just ultimately came to realize that I love the people.
Gotcha.
Right. And in architecture, I started to imagine myself, although, architecture firms obviously are made up of more than one person. I just started to imagine myself sitting behind a desk. And at that time, it was still hand-drawn, ink on vellum. AutoCAD was just starting to make its way into the industry. And so when I started thinking about that and not being around people and getting energy back from people, I just realized that, I have a great deal of respect for the craftsmen, all of them, right? But it started with the passion of my dad being a stonemason. I respected where they were coming from. It's hard work. It's not easy work.
Right.
And they give their all to it. And so just watching a team of people come together in their specialized craft and put all the pieces of a puzzle together to make something awesome like a commercial building, that's really where I got excited about where my career can go.
No, I could see that. I would imagine you want that energy coming back from people. So I can absolutely see it. Yeah. So you need a job, you get your first job, you're working for a local contractor. What now? Well,
it's that's a good story too. I'm full of good stories today, right?
That's great.
So that's a good story. So ultimately, my long-term girlfriend, who's now my wife, was still in school, and so I didn't want to leave Gainesville because back then There were no such thing as cell phones. There were no such thing as social media. For the most part, if you left someone in a serious relationship and traveled to go to work, chances are that relationship was not going to last, right? So if I had to admit it to myself, the fact that I had an opportunity to go to work full time for a local builder and wait on my now wife to finish her college education, I really was looking for what is the next step after that, right? She had a couple of years left in school, but my mentor at the time, who was the general contractor I went to work for, just really asked me what I wanted out of my career, and my dad started his own business. He was an entrepreneur. I saw the freedom and flexibility that it gave him to invest in what he was passionate about, but also raise a family.
Right.
So I kind of had
with
that
7 kids.
Yeah, with 7 kids, right. And so I really think I adopted the entrepreneurial spirit from that, right? So my mentor asked me what I wanted to gain out of the industry, and I said, well, I want to learn as much as I can about the commercial construction world, and then I see myself starting my own company. And he, knowing what it takes to start your own company, he tongue-in-cheek said, oh, well, how long do you think that's going to take you to figure that out? And I said, I think I should be able to learn all that in 5 years, And so he kind of chuckled. He said, really, 5 years and you'll learn everything you need to know to start your own business? I said, yeah, I think so. And so he said, I'll tell you what. He said, if you go out of town and start working for some of these larger general contractors, the chances are they won't have the time to invest in you the way we can here. It was a much smaller company, locally based company. And he said, I think that if your goal is truly to learn this industry, you'll learn it much faster here in our organization than you will if you went to work for one of the regional or national builders. And he started to make a whole lot of sense to me. And so I said, I've got my girlfriend in college. He's offering me an opportunity here that really I can't pass up, and so I took it. So yeah, he ultimately did mentor me, and I can share with you that when people hear that part of my story, they imagine that my mentor just sat beside me.
Yes, of course.
And really just taught me every aspect of the industry. Well, not at all. He said, look, I'll be available to you if you find yourself stuck in any way. Just come to me and I'll coach you through it. And so obviously I had to start with my passion and my ambition of wanting to learn. But he in fact did stand by his word. Every time I came to a crossroads, or every time I ran into an obstacle or an issue that I couldn't solve, or maybe there was just more than one answer and I wanted to make sure I made the best answer, I leaned on him, and he was always there to support me in that. So that was really neat.
Yeah, and that's so important, mentorship. And I'm sure that you have ingrained that into your organization now, the importance of mentorship, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've structured our organization where there's always someone there to serve as a coach, guide, mentor in every process, every aspect of our industry. And it's really paid dividends to the people that come to work into our company, right? Their careers really escalate at a much faster pace than I see, at least in the Gainesville market, than I see other people that come into the marketplace, and they're happy for it as well.
Absolutely. I think people need that connection. They need to have somebody to go to. Like you said, they're not going to be with you every step of the way.
That's right.
But when you get to that kind of obstacle or crossroad, you at least have someone to talk to.
That's right.
So I imagine that those first years you hardly worked any and you didn't have to worry much and you were just living the good life, or was it a little bit different than that?
Very different than that. Very different than that. All things happen for a reason, and I was very ambitious. And when I realized how much there was to learn in our industry, there's no doubt why my mentor kind of chuckled to himself when I said it'll take me 5 years.
No problem.
And so, of course, I had to prove that that's what it was going to take, right? And so I would have to say that probably for the first 5 years of my career, it wasn't uncommon for me to work 100-hour weeks. And the nice thing is, my girlfriend was in college. I was seriously committed to her and to my career. And so I knew she would be tied up in her schooling. And I said, well, what else am I going to do if we can't even go on dates? She's busy. I might as well work, and I might as well learn everything I can about this industry. And that's what I did. So the 100 hours went by very, very fast. It's not like I was sitting there contemplating, why am I doing this, right? I mean, the time just flew by. But just when I look back and realize, my gosh, the number of hours that I put in, but it did really escalate the speed that I learned the industry. You put in that many hours, you're gonna turn really 10 to 15 years of learning into 5 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important too, because it's the amount of time you dedicate to whatever it is you're doing, it accelerates, you get that much in return.
Yes.
And it sounds like you absolutely did during that time, not to mention that you needed a job
Right.
and that. And so with the mentor that you had, were there other things that you felt like kind of guided you as you decided, I'm ambitious, I want to own my own business? Were there moments in there where he really stepped forward and did some things for you that helped you along the way?
Well, yeah, he really had a good business mind to begin with. But I think what really helped was we had a commonality of investing in people, right? That's really where we connected. He had just a really good, strong connection with the people that he worked with and that delivered his projects from a crafts perspective as well. So we really were on the same page when it came to that mindset. But I would say that if he taught me anything, it was absolutely that you're going to get out of the amount of time you invest in it.
Absolutely.
He was a hard worker as well. So we were on the same page from that regard, right? It's not like I was working 100 hours and he was working 40. I'd come in and he'd be right behind me, or he would come in and I'd be right behind him. Actually, it got to the point where I kept trying to beat him to the office. And I can't tell you how many times he still beat me, no matter how early I got there. He still beat me in the door, right? But he was incredibly successful, and so I admired the level of success that he achieved in the industry. And so it was really just a matter of if this is what it takes and he's doing it, well, I'm going to do it too.
Right. And I think that's the key too. If you want to be successful, then you have to find someone that's successful, and you have to, instead of trying to invent it on your own, right? And figure out, well, how am I going to do this? You had somebody that you could go, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I've had a lot of mentors in my life, but so I can share with you that this idea of seeking success and then replicating the success is real. I've had a lot of mentors that have told me, it's you have to make mistakes and you have to learn from your mistakes, right? Don't be afraid to fail. If you're trying to do things well and you're trying to advance yourself, you're going to make mistakes, right? And so it's learn from your mistakes. There's no question about it. But that's really a reactionary way of learning, right? A more proactive way of learning then is, well, let's try to learn from other people's mistakes so you don't make them to begin with.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And so share lessons learned. So that's a big part of our company now. Share lessons learned so others don't make the same mistakes you made. But there's really even a better solution to success, and that is, learn from your mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes, but you really want to focus and learn from other people's successes. Learn what made them successful, and if it worked for them, guess what? If you apply it, it's going to work for you too. And so, so that's what I really paid attention to, the people that were successful.
No, I like that. Find a model that works. It's working for them. How do I emulate that? How do I use that?
That's right.
You told me a story one time when we talked before, even about a car, about the first car that you had when you started working with this particular company. Tell that story. I think it's a great story.
Yeah, that's a fun story. So to back step just a moment, he made me a job offer, but part of that, I'll invest in you and mentor you. And if you want to learn all you can about this industry, this is the place for you. So he sold me on that. And then he gave me his offer. And it was about, I'm going to say it was about 60% the salary that everyone else in the industry was offering me. So I think he realized that, okay, I've got this kid figured out, and his ambition is to learn. It's not really to make money. So, and I shared with him, I said, well, you're offering me 60% of what everybody else is paying me. And I'm really puzzled by that, because I think I'm a really hard worker. And he said, yeah, but I'm giving you so much more. He said, I might not be paying you as much, but I'm going to invest in you.
Yep.
And so,
he was a good negotiator also.
That's right. So he had me sold there. Well, 2 weeks into the job, I already mentioned I paid my way through college, and I had my first car, which I bought at auction when I was 16 years old for $600.
Okay.
And so...
And you're still driving it all this time later.
I'm still driving it. I spent more time under that car fixing it through my high school and college years, but it's what I had, and it had to last me through college. And so by the time I went to work for him, the thing was really, it was being held together with duct tape, okay? And you could hear it come probably 3 miles away. The belts on that thing used to scream so loud that you could hear it come from at least 3 miles away. And he said, you're a professional now. You're going to be representing our company in meetings. You're going to be going places. you really need to do something about that car. And I looked right back at him and I said, I would, but you don't pay me enough.
Oh, I love it.
and so he said, fair enough. I hear what you're saying. You know, I thought I can't afford a new car. So the neat thing is, probably a week later, he came into my office. He said, look, he said, we have an image to uphold here, okay? And I can't have you going to meetings. So he handed me keys and he said, your new vehicle is outside. Now, it was new to me. It wasn't a brand new vehicle,
Right.
but nonetheless, it was a little SUV that was much, much newer than my car. And he just handed me the keys. He said, here, you could drive that. So what he didn't do for my base salary, he made up for in other ways.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's like a fantastic gift whenever you're working
100%.
like you're working and you have the car that you had when you were 16.
Absolutely.
Trying to get around.
I felt like I hit the lottery when he gave
Oh,
me
100%. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So did it take you only 5 years there to go ahead and learn everything you needed to learn and go out on your own?
I still haven't learned everything I needed to learn, okay? You never will. Anyone who believes they've arrived are kidding themselves, okay? But I will share with you that I did learn a lot, and I gained a lot of confidence, and I felt like I was ready to start my own company. And matter of fact, I developed a business plan, and I sat for my general contractor's license.
Okay.
And I was ready to step away and to start my own company. And I don't know if he just had an incredible memory that made him recall that I said 5 years, but it was really just about 5 years to the month that this was all happening. And he came to me and said, look, there's a sister company that I'm 50% owner of, and the other 50% partners are thinking that they want to dissolve the company, they want to move on. And I am either going to dissolve the company or I'm going to buy the other 50% from them. But I'll only do that if you'd be interested in going over there and running it for me. And he said, if you do that, then I would make you my partner. And so I had
What
to
a
think
huge
about
opportunity,
that.
though.
It was a huge opportunity.
But now you're like, do I go on my own?
Right, because I was so close. I was so close to stepping away.
Yeah.
And so I think it shocked him when I said, I've got to think about that, because here I am. Let's face it. I'm 27 years old. He's given me an opportunity to become a partner in a pretty well-established company. Just like any company, it had its issues, but it was already off the ground and going in the right direction. And to hear a guy at 27 say, "I got to think about that,"
Think about it.
and so, but I think I was pretty set in what I wanted to accomplish with my life. And so again, I had to lean on other mentors. He served as a great mentor in the space of construction, but I had a lot of great other personal mentors, spiritual mentors, and good close friends that were successful in other industries that I used to lean on all the time.
Gotcha.
And so I talked to them about that. And it's a good thing that I did surround myself with mentors, because I heard it once. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm still going to debate this. But by the time I heard it a couple of times, the idea that success builds on success made a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I heard it a couple of times from a couple of successful mentors. And what they shared with me was like, look, you could go out and start your own business, but it's going to probably take you 10 years, especially at your young age, and you don't really have a lot of resources available to you. It's probably going to take you 10 years to get to a place where you're not continuing to put in those 100-hour weeks.
Right.
And what they shared with me was, you have an individual that's willing to invest in you and has already got an opportunity that's well 10 years invested, that's on an upwards trajectory. And while you believe in yourself, take this opportunity, because if you can do it with him, you're going to be wildly successful, because success builds on success. And if you end up not being able to do it, well, guess what? You didn't exhaust 10 years of your life.
True.
10 years
True.
of your life and a lot of energy and resources that
Capital.
you just didn't
Yes,
have.
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so that made a whole lot of sense to me. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to prove it to myself, and I'm going to prove it to him that success will build on success. And we did just that. And we were wildly successful. The next 10 years really was, I hit it at the on-ramp, and then it was just an upward trajectory. We did some amazing things for the next decade. Yeah, so it was fun and exciting.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think the important thing, like what you're saying there too, is you knew what you wanted to do. So I think it's really important for young people today to really think about that. Like, what do I want? What do I want to do? You were very driven and everything.
Yeah.
But then you weighed it and you saw the opportunity. Because I think
Yes.
sometimes we miss, you and I have talked about this before, the book by Matthew McConaughey, Green Light.
That's
Like
right.
you have to look for those moments of opportunity and
Yes.
really seize them.
Yes, yes. Richard Branson said one time that somebody asked him if they believed that luck played a big role in his success, and he said, the reality of it is, yes, it did. He said, but we're all lucky. I'm just as lucky as you are. There's opportunities all around us. The difference between my luck and somebody else's luck is when I saw those opportunities, I capitalized on them.
Absolutely.
Right? So we all have opportunities, whether or not you see them.
Absolutely. No, I think it's so great. And it's super important. So you stay another 10 years and then you decide now you're ready to go on your own, or did it happen at that point?
Yeah, no, it wasn't an immediate thing. So the 10-year climb, which was very fun. Unfortunately, I lost my mentor halfway through that 10-year period. He passed away in 2005, but the economy was still strong. So we didn't miss a beat. Things were going great. I had other partners at the time, and then the economy slowed down.
Yeah.
And when that happened, really we were all trying to figure out how to right size the company and make some decisions that were going to position us to really move ahead in a slow economy to be able to ramp back up when the economy came back. And so some different things happened. We merged sister companies and just turned it into one organization, and we were trying to streamline different positions and different processes to really adjust to a poor economy. And ultimately, the struggle was real, and so we really were not on the same page about what that looked like. And I always had that aspiration.
Right.
And I figured, what better time than a terrible economy when we when there's nothing to lose.
Right. Yeah. True.
Yeah, to say, maybe I'm going to be part of the solution of how we move forward, and I'll step away and contemplate what I do next as the economy starts to come back. And so that's what I did. So it was at that time, because of a bad economy, that made me step away and decide that maybe the next chapter of my life was to start my own company and really go from there. And it's I didn't realize this until you asked the question, but it's kind of ironic that the other major pivot in my life was because of a bad economy.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Early 90s and now again in 2009, 10, to around in that 10, 11, around there. Oh, there you go.
So yeah, I've never thought about that before, but that's a fact.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you start the company. Tell us a little bit about Scorpio Construction now, what you do.
Yeah, so we are a community-based construction company that we internally say we deliver projects that elevate the head, heart, and soul of the communities we serve. And that statement helps us stay focused on the projects that we really want to deliver. And so head, heart, and soul of a community, we focus on head, mind, so education projects, whether it's K-12 education, technical schools, state colleges, or university system. The heart side of it is anything related to health and human performance. So that would be medically related projects or athletic and even performing arts related projects. And then the soul of it is what really drives the social aspects of a community. And so we turn to the civic side, and where do our cities, where do our counties and state feel like their tax dollars need to be spent to elevate the community. So really that became the focus of our work. And that's what we still do today. Yeah.
So what do you think, you've been successful, you've been doing this. What do you think drives you now? And what's driving the success for Scorpio?
The drive is the mission. The mission is to build people and make buildings for life. And so the first portion of that is really where my drive comes from, building people, creating similar opportunities that were created for me very early in my career. That's where I draw all of my energy right now. Creating strategy that opens up opportunities, and then investing in the people, coaching them, mentoring them, creating a process within our company that continues to elevate value, to bring value to our customers through effective systems and processes. Before we talk about being efficient, but effective first, then efficient, and that is where all of my energy is spent. And then giving people the runway to do what they do best. And it's really driven the success of our company.
No, that's fabulous. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's what it is, like really looking at the culture. Like if you are that, that's your responsibility to
Yes.
build that culture.
Yes.
And I know, just because I know your organization, that you guys have a very well-known, great culture.
Thank you.
And how big are you now? So how many employees do you have, and where all do you operate in the state of Florida?
Yeah, so we're very growth minded. So we're always going to seek opportunities for growth at the corporate level, at the company level, but also at the individual level. We invest so much in making sure that the people within it have an opportunity to grow, and by that, it's growing the organization. So what started in Gainesville a little more than 12 years ago created opportunities for us to branch out. We're now located in Orlando, Jacksonville. We have a small office that is just now in the incubation stages in Tallahassee, and similarly, a small office in Ocala that's in the incubation stages. So we are in 5 geographic markets and growing. Currently in those 5 markets, we have, gosh, I'm sorry, but I lost count. I think probably 120 team members and growing.
Okay.
And now we don't do any of the physical work. We are construction management, professional construction management company. So all of us are field managers and project managers. So it's for 5 offices. That's a pretty sizable group.
That is
120 and growing. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so with your people, what is there any specific things? So you talk about the mission, you talk about what you're doing, that you instill in your people that you think keeps them excited. Like what are some of the things that you have to do as a leader to do that?
The very first thing you have to do is find the right people. So we have a culture that really focuses on what makes us tick. We call it our DNA. And there are certain attributes that we look for in the team members that we bring into our organization, especially attributes that lend themselves to the demands of the construction industry, right? You have to pretty much be a very direct communicator to be in our industry. You have to be very outgoing and social and like people and like being around people, right? To be successful in our industry. You have to be able to work at a pretty fast pace and handle multiple things coming at you. So you have to be agile. And then you have to be flexible. There are so many variables that could happen in any day on a construction site. So while you have to create a plan and you have to work the plan, when it all doesn't go as planned, you have to have that ability to pivot and be flexible.
Yes, for sure.
So we focus a great deal on finding those attributes within our team members. So it starts with them, and then really we focus on, again, the first part of our mission is build people. We engage them and try to understand what their purpose is, what drives them, what's their personal why. I don't know if you're familiar with Simon Sinek, and start with why. So we invest a lot of time understanding someone's personal why. And then we introduce them to our vision, right? And the goal is to align their personal why with why we exist. And that's where really they find their way in.
Connection, yeah.
Right? Find that connection. And then from there, it's all about keeping the motivation and engagement with all of our team members. That's the strategy, right? That's a strategy. And as long as we do that, a vision that we can stay clear on, all arrows pointed in the same direction, all people buying into the vision, and then delivering daily on the mission, which is more of the tactical stuff, the things we do day in and day out, the processes and the blocking and tackling, we're going to be a successful company.
Absolutely. And I love that you said engagement, because I think that's so key, because you can have a group of people and there's people that get disengaged, and then the work product, the commitment, all of that kind of dwindles when you have people that are not actively engaged with what you're doing. So I think that's great that that's one of your focuses. How do we engage them?
It is. You have to keep folks engaged. You know, and I've learned over the years what makes people disengaged. Frankly, it's not having clear expectations, right? You hire someone for a role, and maybe what makes someone disengaged is if they really don't know what's expected of them, right? They're really not clear on their roles and responsibilities, their day-to-day responsibilities. So then it develops into a level of frustration sometimes.
Yes.
And when people get frustrated, they tend to disengage, right? And so for us, that's where we spend a lot of time figuring out, where's their miscommunication? Where's their lack of clarity? How can we be 100% crystal clear on the role we hired you to do, the responsibilities, and what excellence looks like? That's the big conversation around our camp. Right? And if we communicate that very clearly all the time, the level of engagement just really skyrockets.
That's so important. And I think this generation, even more than in the past, really needs exactly what you're saying. I need clarity. I need to know what's the expectation. What excellence looks like is such a great statement
Yes.
because you need to define that for people. Because sometimes when you say, I need you to give more, I need you to do more,
Yes.
we need to get better, those words
What does
really
that mean, right? What does
anything.
that mean? So you have to create that clarity. We say vision. What is our vision? But really, you have to bring that vision to life, right? You have to be able to give them examples. This is an example of excellence, right? So just talking about it isn't enough. But then when you use the vague terms, like you said,
Yes.
a lot of times I talk to college students and say, what is your ambitions? What are your goals? And they'll say, oh man, I really want to come into this industry because I heard you could make a ton of money. I'm like, a ton of money. I'm like, well, what is a ton of money?
Yeah, true. Great point.
like, let us start with that, So, I mean, if you can't define it, how are you going to get there, right?
Right.
So we really start to get granular. Like, what does that mean for you, right? Day one, when you come into, what does a ton of money mean on day one? What does a ton of money mean 10 years from now, right?
Right.
And it's always interesting when you ask those questions, the answers you get back.
Do you get immediate answers, or do sometimes you have people that are just taken so off guard they're not really sure?
More the second, more the latter.
Okay.
Yeah, they're taken off guard, like, I'm really not too sure. I really haven't thought about that. So I was like, okay, great. Well, part of us investing in you and building people is going to be let's define that. Let's get really clear on that, and then again, their why and what we can offer them, right? So let's define that. Let's be really clear on that, and then let's say, yeah, that's possible. That's not beyond doable. Here are the expectations that relate to that ton of money as you've defined it, right? And so how do we get you there, right?
Right.
And so it becomes clarity on both sides.
I love it because I think it's a very personal conversation. It's like individuals instead of just doing that general swath of everybody's the same.
Yes.
Because a ton of money to you means it means something
That's
totally
right.
different. I just need to pay my car payment
That's right.
that I just got,
Yeah.
and I need to pay my rent and my
That's
electric
right.
bill, and that's it. So that's sometimes a ton of money. So
Yes.
I think, and it changes, as you said. Like today it's this, tomorrow it might be something different.
And another lens to look at that through is it's different for everyone, and so run your own race.
Oh, I like
Right.
that.
And we talk about that a lot in our organization. What a ton of money means to this individual can be very different for what it means to the second individual. And once we determine that, run your own race. Because if you continue to look over at the other person and they have different ambitions, if you
Can't compare, yeah.
no, if you're constantly comparing, then all of a sudden things like bad things set in, like envy sets in, and
Right.
and ego starts to take over, and that's when personalities shift and bad things start to happen within the organization because now they're comparing themselves to someone else and saying, why not me? Our job is, look, find your why. Let's focus on your why, and then let's invest in that. And your why is more than welcome to change, but do it because you want to change, right?
Right.
Don't do it because you're comparing yourself to someone else. Run your own race.
Right. No, I love that. Run
Yeah.
your own race. That's great.
Yeah.
Besides money, is there anything else that is often said when you're asking what the why is?
Yeah, we hear a lot about work-life balance.
Okay.
And everyone has their own definition of that as well.
Absolutely.
It always comes to clarity. What does that mean for you? And what can this company do to align what that definition is for you to what we're trying to accomplish here? And so it's not our job to tell people what they want out of their life, right? What is our job is to understand what they want out of their life and then see how we can align it within our organization back to give them that track to run on. Right? And those things can change as long as we're having open dialogue about that. Those things can change as their careers progress. And today, sometimes we relate to it as seasons, right? You're in one season of your life that you can't make certain contributions to where you want to go. But then other things happen. You're in a different season of your life,
Right.
and you can make a bigger contribution to your career if that's what you want to elevate. I consider work-life balance to say, look, I feel like I'm fulfilled and I have an abundance of things that make me happy. And you have to focus on your own personal self first, and then you have to focus on your family, and then you have to focus on your profession. And I put that profession last, right? There's a reason why we come to work.
Right.
And it's not, I mean, let's just be honest about it. It's to make a ton of money, but why?
Right. What are you trying to do with it?
What are you trying to do with it, right? And the more you ask that question of help me understand why this is important to you, it really always comes back to something very personal, and it's about the people that you want to spend your time with.
Absolutely. Right? No, for sure. So I know you're a lifelong learner. What do you like to read? What inspires you? Where do you go for direction?
Yeah, what inspires me is anything that will help me understand people better. A lot of the books that I read, and it's mostly books. I'll listen to podcasts every now and again, but I really like
Got to
to
listen to this one now.
100%, 100%. But I guess when it comes to learning, I'm a very tactile person. I want to hold the book in my hand. I want to flip the pages. I want to be able to highlight, underline, write things in the margins.
Yes.
And that served me well over the years. And there's something about that learning platform that I really like. So I focus a lot on organizational structure, systems and processes early on in my career, because that's what was important to me. Now it's 100% about how do I connect with people. And so a lot of the books are still organizationally based, professional based, but they really focus on how to really engage people and how to really get to understand what motivates people and how you elevate their lives. So those are the kind of things that I read.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and that makes sense. You found out early on why construction management is something that was good for you, because it was the people thing. So it makes sense that's what you're doing.
Yes.
So greatest achievement as for the company Scorpio, for Scorpio Construction, what would you say is one of the greatest achievements that you all have had?
That is a big question, because I don't know that I could say there's one. I would say the first of everything we do is the greatest achievement, because we set our sights on something, and then if we achieve it, that's pretty great accomplishment. And when we achieve it, we're raising the bar. So now that becomes the next great achievement.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
And so we're never going to arrive. Every time we achieve the next thing, now where do we go? Right? So I can't give you that one answer. I would have to just tell you that the greatest achievement was when I started my career. And the next great achievement was when I decided to leave and start my own company. And then the next great achievement was the very first project we landed. And it was a very small project, but man, that was a great achievement when we landed that project and everybody was high-fiving around the office, right? And so part of investing in other people and the growth of other people is, while that might not be my next excitement, there's somebody in the organization that landing that first job, and it's not a very big job, if they don't come back to the office and start high-fiving everybody, boy, we have failed.
Something's wrong.
Yes, and they do come back and high five. So for them, they're at that place where perhaps I was, 20 years ago. It's just that's kind of the excitement of it, right?
Absolutely. No, that's very cool. What about personally?
Personally, I've got to always say that the greatest achievement was convincing my wife to marry me, and then having such a wonderful, beautiful family of 3 young ladies. So personally, that would be my greatest achievement, hands down. Yeah, I can't say
Absolutely. Any of your children interested in construction?
Right now, no.
Okay.
Right now, no. But I am constantly watching them develop as young ladies, and I can tell you that in any business, right? In any business, you have your sales, and you have your operations, and then you have your finance and administration. That tripod is what makes any business successful. And as I continue to see my daughter's personalities evolve, there's no question. I have one that would be fantastic at sales.
Gotcha.
I have one that would be fantastic operationally, and I have one that would be fantastic from a finance and administrative thing. So I'm not giving up.
Okay.
I'm not giving up. But so far, they all want to pursue their own passions, and that's awesome.
No, absolutely. Yeah. But that is really interesting that you're looking at them and knowing you're looking at it from not only a fatherly perspective, but a business perspective. Right. In terms of, I see these traits. This is interesting. Ages of your daughters?
Yeah, 21, 19, and 17.
Oh, okay. So they're right at the precipice of they haven't figured it out yet. They're just still doing it.
No, but I think you figured out that I'm a very intentional, purpose-driven person. So we're constantly challenging the girls. What's your purpose? What's your why? Why are you doing this? What are you trying to accomplish?
Absolutely. And I would be remiss not saying that not all of them, both of the ones that are already out, go to the University of Florida.
They do not go to the university. Now you're teeing up a sore spot there. They went to our competitors. Okay, they went to that other school up north and west. Mm-hmm. And when the first one went, I really had a hard time sharing that with other people, because my wife and I are both UF alumni, Gator alumni, and we are diehard Gators. Okay,
it's hard not to live here and not. Right. I mean, it is really difficult not to get into that.
Yeah, so the first one went to FSU, and we had a really hard time sharing that with people.
So you're kind of going, oh yeah, she's at.
Yeah, exactly. But then we quickly came to realize, maybe we love our daughter more than we love this competition between schools.
There you go.
So we fully embraced it, and now the second one, my daughters are very close. So the second one went to FSU as well. We don't know what the third one is going to do because she is very competitive. I don't know where she gets that from, but she's very competitive, and she said,
Can't imagine.
Yeah. She said, I might go to FSU, but that's only if I don't get into Ivy League. So,
okay.
So she's
because I need to top the other two.
That's right.
That's right. She's coming from behind. She's the younger one. She's going to go to the top.
100%.
Well, I would, based on your passion, would not surprise me at all. I'm so glad that you came and visited with us. So thank you for being here. This has been great.
Thank you for having me. It was really a fun time.